savvy, extremely organized, magnificently good looking, and very, very smart. Um,
Hey,
There's an
Mercury's
acronym for that, but you
retrograde.
have to figure it out.
This is on just the recording. Those of you joining us on YouTube Live will see this in about 2 seconds here.
Oh,
okay,
good.
goody.
Organized,
This meeting is also
magnificent.
being live streamed. Great.
Okay, we are now live on YouTube. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am going to turn it over because
Oh,
I'm just the button pusher today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our live stream where we are going to talk about some immediate, cool things happening in the real live sky. Um, I am Maria Schumacher, Vian of Venus-13.com, and I am joined here by my lovely panel full of wonderful expert astrologers. River, would you like to introduce yourself first, and then we'll go to Verone, and then Michael, and then Julie.
all right. I am River of Stars Astrology, also focusing on the astronomical sky and how that translates astrologically as they are unified again in this movement. And you can find me at riverofstarsastrology.com, also on Instagram and Facebook, River of Stars Astrology, as well as Substack. And onward.
I'll take the baton. Thank you very much. Okay, so I am Verone Bright. The best way to find me is Instagram at Starship Moonbeam. You can also find me on TikTok, Starship Moonbeam. My biggest focus working with the True Life Sky is utilizing the astrological weather and transits in order to clear all the density and conditioning out of our body so that we can become as aware, present, and empowered as possible here on Earth, so that we can really be like the living mythology, shifting the stories into what we want and away from what we don't. Yeah. Okay. Baton. There you go, Michael.
Thank you. My name is Michael, and I have a site at oneskyastro.com. I am the sort of force behind One Sky Astrology and an admin of Radical Astrology, which is a Facebook community that I think we're all five of us very familiar with. I'll leave that there. I don't have Instagrams or a whole bunch of social medias. I have a YouTube channel. Thank you. I pass the baton.
I guess by default, I'm left. Julie Sherwood, Your Best Hopes Wellness Coaching, where I do 13-sign constellational astrology along with all my lovely cohorts here. I'm a solution-focused wellness coach, a root cause therapy practitioner, and I interweave the astrology in a lot of the work that I do, and I'm excited to do that. And Ms. Maria and I do a Holistic Health Happy Hour podcast, and we also have a little group called Constellational Conversations. So if you want to know more about what's going on in the sky and learn from a conversational perspective, just hit us up and we'll get you connected. And welcome to all joining live. I see a few people on YouTube, so hello, hello. Take it away.
I have one more thing to say.
Please.
I forgot. I have a podcast that I'm putting
Yes,
more
you do.
energy into, and it's streaming on all platforms. It's called Star Body Empowerment with Verone Bright. Go and listen. I'm adding more. Thank you.
Yes, you are. Beautiful.
Okay.
Well worth listening. Well worth looking up any one of these great astrologers. Like, really, do yourself a favor. So, okay, we are gathered here today to press buttons. I am going to share a chart with everybody for 7/28 of 2025. That's tomorrow. You like how I worked that out that fast? Um, and this is why I wanted to share it, because tomorrow, when a couple of important things happen that create a couple of even more important things. First of all, the moon will conjoin Mars. Second of all, Venus will oppose the galactic center. Moon and Mars coming into conjunction creates these, well, lights up the Grand Cross and creates a grand trine between Mars, Uranus, and Pluto, opposite Saturn and Neptune. And so that's kind of a big deal. In fact, that's very a big deal. Not to mention, there's a Grand Cross involving Mars and Venus and Neptune, Saturn again, and the galactic center. So that's what we like to call some heavy astrology. And we thought it would be a good idea to get together and talk about what this all means. Michael, would you like to start us out with the astrology of it all?
Not just yet, because I'm generating that chart right now. If you caught
Oh,
me being distracted. No, carry on. And in a minute, come back to me and I'll be
you
ready.
got it. River,
Thank you.
would you like to start us out with just the astrology of it all?
I mean, I'm just trying to feel into this one. I'm feeling that grand trine, Earth trine, is going to be really necessary amongst just the general intensity of this overall time with the Saturn Neptune ongoing transit that got super, super close. I think they're now separating a little bit, but I still have the wah-wahs from Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces, and just like disillusioned and just confused and like what the fuck kind of.
Right?
um so I'm really like looking forward to this grand trine and coming in to just recenter, reground, connect with the earth as well as the water with that Saturn Neptune, because that'll also create that kite that we're talking about. um so yeah, I feel like there's a call to like connect to the earth in all of her forms, recenter these aspects with the galactic center. Something I was looking into is that when Mars perfects this grand trine, Mars will be with the super galactic center. So there's this real like coming back to center amidst the turmoil, amidst the dissolve.
That's a great way to put it, River. That's a really great way to put it. Coming back to center, because all of these things, the galactic center, the galactic supercenter.
And I would like to like a little spin on the Saturn Neptune piece. You know, I feel as though yes, there's the dissolve, yes, there's the what the fuck moment, yes, there's the wah wah. Oh my gosh, everything's kind of like disillusioned. And also, I'm gonna bring in that Neptune in Pisces is gonna let us expand into the dream, 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 dream. So like maybe you didn't allow yourself to dream really, really, really big. You know, maybe you didn't let yourself feel as though it could be possible for you. But now with Saturn and Neptune coming together, not only are you able to dream it, there is that ability to like build that long-term stability in order to get you there. There is a big emphasis on uncertainty. You know, our humanness, our subconscious mind, we really grasp on to certainty. We want guarantees. We want known outcomes. And if life has taught me anything in general, but especially with Saturn Neptune, is that there are no guarantees. There are no certainties. And so the more that we can really sink into the uncertainty, we're going past the bounds of our comfort zone into this place of new possibilities, into a place of potential energy, almost like void energy. It's like, you know, if you know that like on Tuesday at 9 a.m. you'll be at your job, well, you know, that's the same. It's like almost like a Groundhog's Day kind of energy. But if you're able to like tap into the uncertainty and follow the uncertainty and allow that to like spark curiosity and spark new potential. Well, now this is how we create new realities. I think Saturn and Neptune coming together really allow us to create something new. You know, it may not be what you think, it's not going to be what you've known, and you're not going to have all the answers because you're not supposed to. But I feel like using this energy to kind of like spark some newness, you know, like step outside your comfort zone, like do something outside of your comfort zone every day and allow yourself to have those bigger dreams. Don't worry about how it's going to happen. Let yourself really feel into it. Because, like, you know, all these transits, they're all connected. They're not isolated. They're all building upon one another. And with this earth energy coming in with the earth trine, you know, it's like a little of it is kind of being seeded, you know, a little bit being able to come to the earth. And the earth as we know it is shifting and changing anyways, like evolution shifts, changes, you know, that's, we have to kind of expect the unexpected and not grip out to like a final destination.
I love that too, Verone. Thank you so much. And I want to add on top of that, when you're talking about, you know, expanding our dream capacity, South Node shifting into Leo at this time also, I think, allows us to, frankly, expand, bust our comfort zone, right? Like, I kind of want to get out of my comfort zone. I kind of want to bust my comfort zone. I am tired of waiting for the world to change. I want to go do the thing that I've been wanting to do. And one thing that, you know, Neptune does as another expander, like Jupiter is an expander, and Neptune is an expander. And it expands um, that inner world. We're retrograde now. Saturn and Neptune are retrograde, so that the inner dream is getting bigger and more accessible. Our ability to access it, whatever has been separating us from it, is being dissolved, and our ability to access it is being expanded. And then the South Node in Leo helps us to, like, yeah, let's stretch that comfort zone a little bit, I feel.
Uranus too, all this connecting to Uranus as one of the major players in this formation, which is really an incredible formation. What's pictured here, as well as you can see the kite behind it, behind the Grand Cross, and I just think this is so powerful. And kites to me really speak of that vehicle of change and metamorphosis.
Yeah, the kites also kind of look like diamonds to me. Like, so I like, you know, kites are gonna allow us to like, you know, even thinking about a kite in the sky, like it flies up into the sky, but you also have a cord to it, but it also kind of looks like a diamond shape to me. So like, you know, all these astronomical formations, it's like it takes a while for it to perfectly come together and kind of like crystallize in this magical but yet so mathematical calculation that we can see right in front of us in this chart. So yeah, I think it's pretty special.
And I think the North Node ingressing into Aquarius plays very strongly into that. When we remember what Maria said about the South Node in Leo, just, you know, I want to bust out of all of this. Once we embrace that and bring our authenticity to the forefront, then we can really start to understand how that North Node is calling for us to do that, to be authentic, to be uniquely who we are, and to create and when Verone was saying dreams and imagination, it's that vision for the future, Aquarius. And that goes right along with Uranus as the modern ruler. You know, it's this, there is no coincidence in all of this.
Yeah, the whole pattern is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that chart you have up, Maria, I see that Venus is exactly opposite the galactic center,
Yep.
and the moon is right with Mars. But that's for the 28th of July. Could I possibly share my screen and show you
You bet.
the 5th of August about a week later? Yeah,
You bet.
let me get this going on. Let's see.
Yeah, that opens the door to the full moon.
And the
Mhm.
and the Lion's Gate, regardless of
Oh,
what
look at
one
that.
thinks of
So
that. Oh yeah.
Ugh.
so yeah, this for this isn't the full moon, but this is the moon approaching galactic center, right on Ras Al Hag and in Ophiuchus. But it's the closeness, of the Grand Trine. There's no point at which all the angles are zeroed, but this is just a representation of how Venus will move, quicker, and the moon moves very quickly, and all this will sort of dissipate and break. But this kite really remains. Like this whole thing is going to be powerful for an entire week. Like Mars is not moving that fast. Um, he will move out of this probably. I should have looked, but I want to say by 10th or 12th of August, he'll be
You,
on his way.
you're right. You are
Oh, thank
correct.
you.
To my memory, I was looking at it earlier.
Thank you so much. But this is really
Mhm.
powerful with Moon approaching galactic center August 5th. Mars is technically in the realm of how do you say, the territory of the South Node. And as such, under this sort of like really, it's a very sinister, obsessive influence, Mars and the South Node, the effect they have on each other. And I love the idea that it's going to be a sort of groundedness, a transformed groundedness of finding our relationship with the earth or with the ground beneath our feet, whatever that might be or symbolize, in the midst of chaos and upheaval and war and strife and conflict. It just reminds me of the Stoic maxim that the obstacle isn't on your path in the way, but the obstacle is the path. That's what I see here. We're
Mhm.
all going to have to force to be dealing with Mars and just so much gnarly energy kind of focused on him and him with South Node. It's certainly hard to see, especially with Jupiter on Sirius and and the moon in the deepest dark rift. I don't see another way to find a connection to the earth, to find the connection to our bodies, our self as earth, as a microcosm of earth, except that this one looks like a real solid roller coaster ride.
Well, I think Mars and Virgo can point us in that direction in some ways because, Mars, the physical body, and Virgo, your routine health. Maybe it is time to start looking at different ways to incorporate
Mm,
your attention onto your physical health and as
yeah.
a means of grounding, right? Self-care and doing it in connection with nature too. I think going back to those earth elements and the water elements too with the sun and Cancer, retrograde Mercury, ruler of health,
Mm.
really connecting to the earth and water, and just being in flow with that within your physical body. I think that's going to be a key way of taking in all of the static chaos, crazy.
Yeah, there's no grand trine, but look at the water activation, Sun, Mercury, Moon, and then the big alignment here, and
Mhm.
a whole host of accompanying players.
Mm-hmm.
Very activated water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, water, this always was going to be the year of Neptune, the year of Neptune. So
Mm.
it's just no almost no matter what else gets activated this year, it's always watery
Mm-hmm.
because I think that Neptune with Saturn right there, just is going to be the big energy all year. But don't we need that, even if like of all the guys, it would have to be Dave and Pluto and Mars, right?
Oh, right,
That
right,
are
right.
bringing this grand trine. Um,
Mm.
Kite to help. It takes these three to balance out the super powerful Neptune and Saturn. That's like what it takes. Those three in Earth. And and it would have to be Mars because it takes some actual motion.
Yep.
The temptation would be so easy to just sort of check out and all right, fine. I'm so in despair over not feeling grounded and not feeling like everything has gone out from underneath me that you just sort of I'm just going to let it all go, which to an extent is the right answer, but is also like could be, checking out in a very unhealthy way. But Mars in Virgo is going to be like, no, keep keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, Virgo doesn't check out like Pisces, but the forces of the opposed forces, they do bring both into the mix. But I agree, Mars in Virgo is gets shit done. It really is.
Yeah, I kind of see like, and this is more of like maybe my channeled information, but this is also astrologically relevant, is like, you know, we can sit and ruminate in our minds forever, but real clarity comes from action, because back to the uncertainty piece, you're not going to know until you start moving, making choices, moving your body. And a lot of those old ways of being that have not been serving us is going to be coming up real fast for people. It's like those habits that you've been doing that like allow you to like check out or be numb or like stay complacent. Well, that shit is like the clock is up, and all of it's going to be coming up, especially with health issues. If you were just like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it next year, Mars is like, no, you're going to do it now and you're right now, actually. So, if things are coming up for you, I would say good, because that allows you to like actually face it. Pluto ultimately wants us to be in our power, but how are we going to be in our power if we're full of gunk and goo? We're not going to be able to. We are going to have to get all of that stuff up and out. And like, with all the Saturn and Neptune, there is like a fair amount of unconscious karmic material that's going to have to surface. We're going to have to face these karmic
Mm.
contracts, get them up and out of our literal physical body so that our souls can take up resonance in our body, and so that's going to take doing the quote unquote inner work, that it's not a luxury anymore to do your shadow work. It used to be just like spiritual woo woo people doing your shadow work. Now it's
Nailed it.
like
Hmm.
every single person on this planet is going to have to face their shadow. So you might as well focus on yours. Don't focus on anyone else's, because you don't want to take on more karmic work. You actually can't take on other people's karmic work. And you may think that karma and justice is not being served, but I guarantee you it
Mm.
will, and it is, and it may not be what you think, and it may not look the way you think. So it's important to focus on your own journey, and the more space you can make inside of yourself, the more your soul can take up resonance in your human form. Thus, you can bring through your uniqueness. Back talking about like the North Node in Aquarius, your uniqueness, because like you're creating something from scratch. Like your life is like a brand new recipe. Only you are going to be able to bring it through, and you're not going to be able to bring your uniqueness through if you're worried about everybody else, or if you're like running a whole bunch of conditional programming. And no, this work is not easy. Like it really isn't. Sometimes it's fucking grueling, and I'm screaming into a pillow, but like we all have to do it. That's what we're here for. Like Earth is amazing, and sometimes Earth is like feels torturous, and like that's the beauty of the paradox. We get to experience it all.
I think one of the biggest challenges too that can come out of that is goes right to what you were saying, Verone, about Mars in Virgo means you can't sit around and yeah, maybe tomorrow. But when Venus joins Jupiter, we may get stuck. Venus joins Jupiter in Gemini. We may get stuck in the rumination process. What more information do I need? I got to find some more info. I got to find the details. I got to find more info. And we can get stuck in that gluttonous latching
Yeah.
on with that Jupiter can bring with Venus, in the stars of Gemini on that information. At some point, you just have to jump off the cliff and take some action. You have to.
Yeah.
And I think
And they meet
Mercury
on
and,
Sirius.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. And Mercury in retrograde in Cancer, it's rewriting the script of our ancestry through this shadow work.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It
You know
is,
what?
and it goes opposite to Pluto.
Yeah.
Like the screen I just had up when the moon by the time it gets to Ophiuchus. And I'm
Mhm.
not going to share the screen again, but I just want to make note that Mercury opposite Pluto and being confronted with a need to inwardly transform is just,
Yes.
it's all part and parcel of this. So I think I see one thing I didn't hear anyone mention. I just want to throw this into this conversation about Jupiter and Venus is it's a bit of a conflict of interest. It was sort of like identified vaguely, but I want to identify it very explicitly as the Jupiter Venus effect is an effect that's like really kind of laid back. It is very cool. It likes to party. It doesn't like to do a lot of work. And then you have the whole rest of the chart that's asking for like, oh, a lot of work, please. And I just want to give voice to that and step back. To be a personal choice
Mhm.
for us all.
Yeah. It's true. Venus, I'm looking here. It looks like she conjoins Jupiter on the 11th, like on Sirius, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
on it.
That
And
tracks.
I'm working on pulling that chart up and talking at the same time, which is hard. So, yeah, but it's August 11th. Anybody want to talk about the Lionsgate that is also kind of happening at this time that involves Sirius? Like Verone, go.
Okay, I'll just tell you what what do I know? I know some stuff, but I also know nothing. I think the Lionsgate, okay, so I'm going to play like angel devil right here. I think on one hand, the Lionsgate is something that people cling on to, and it's like, oh, it's the portal, and every day is a freaking portal. I mean, I guess every day could be a portal, but so on one hand, yes, I kind of think that it's hyped up. And then on the other hand, when I tune into the Lionsgate, I think that there's this really special place when you go from Cancer, the crab, the scarab, into the lion. Like there's this real interesting energetic shift. Now, like with some constellational changes, when you're in like the Capricorn, Aquarius, like Pisces energy, it's all very like the watery part of the sky. I find that the scarab into the lion is a very interesting shift. And that kind of like inception into that like creative cat energy to me really marks the lion's gate. And also, I really tune in. So there are many lion's gates on the physical earth. They're actual physical locations, one being in Jerusalem, where Jesus walked through before he was crucified. So I find that to be really interesting. Also, it's like you're going through this layer of like, think of almost like a crucifix, walking through a gateway to like kind of almost be reborn in a way. You're going through this gateway to really take off all the things that have kept you from like your grand creation or your grand rebirth. I've even gone to like space. There's a place out in Tucson that had a Lion's Gate that was a simulation of the one in Jerusalem. There's many of them. So I do find this to be like an interesting time, especially with like Sirius, being the brightest star in our night sky, also being connected to be like our spiritual sun. It's really a time to like tune in to your soul and really like ask yourself like, what am I here to create? Not just what should I do? What do I, we're living so many shoulds in this life. Like let go of the shoulds, they suck, And so really tapping into that like primal creator, creatrix inside of you. This is ancient. This goes back to something biblical. So yeah, that's kind of like where I tune in when I think about Lionsgate.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Nice.
I have a different angle of approach to that, and it's well, when you look at the Cancer to Leo transition, you're seeing a transition from watery stars into fiery stars, and there are three of those around the zodiac. There's the Cancer Leo gate. There are two others. They're both gates. One is where the galactic center lives between Scorpio Fucus and Sagittarius. And the other would be between Pisces and Aries, where the journey begins, where the Fool descends, where the the whole the whole thing starts. I find that significant. I find it powerful and alchemically significant, that transition from water to fire, and that it marks a passage from it marks a new birth and a passage through a portal of some importance, more than you might guess, I think, at first glance.
I've
And we
never
should,
thought of that. That's great. Go ahead, River. Sorry.
oh yeah, yes to all of that. And just, we should communicate to anyone listening who doesn't know that roughly around within this Lionsgate window is when the sun in our current experience of Earth, and this is when the sun moves into the Leo constellation constellationally. So
8-8, the Lion's Gate.
yeah,
Is that right? Did I get that right? Did I get the
Yes.
tone? Did I get the tone right? Okay, cool.
Just
So-
about.
but it's also the heliacal rise of Sirius when that is going to happen at different latitudes, but I believe for roughly my latitude, which I live in like the Eastern United States, Asheville, you can look up the tables each year, but it starts in, well, I don't want to give an incorrect date, but it starts before the Lionsgate at other latitudes, and Sirius rises just before the sun, and so their energies are really united during this time period, and it's a larger window than the Lionsgate, but our current Lionsgate kind of intersects within North America when that heliacal rise is happening of Sirius, and it also astronomically is when the sun is leaving Cancer, still technically within Cancer boundaries at 8-8. And I do think that there's a fusion of some of the Cancerian energy of the scarab and Mother Mary and the kind of Christian mysteries I often experience at this gate as well. And the gate of Ishtar, the eighth gate was the gate of Ishtar. So back to the 8, and 8 is the strength card in the tarot, which is the 8. But in the Crowley deck, it's the 11. So back to this window of the 8th through the 11th, because it's the lust card. So
with the lion.
With the lion and the whore
Yeah.
of Babylon and riding the beast that she has integrated.
There we are back to integrating the shadow
True.
again, and the one representing pillars and portals, and it just we're good at tying this stuff up, you guys. Ain't no mistake.
Yeah.
And check it out. So on that day when Jupiter and Venus conjoin, they're not really making a lot of contact, but that grand trine that we're all on about today is still in effect. Plus another one involving the sun and the other players in Pisces.
And the GC.
And Neptune Saturn is still square the galactic center, and Moon later that day is going to come and conjoin these two. So we're going to have a Moon Neptune conjunction later that day, opposing Mars now. Mars has now moved into full opposition to these two. So it's just, but we're still carrying that grand trine with us. So this is just a really long lasting grand Earth trine that is carrying us through what could be some magnificently destabilizing, some even more destabilizing things. Like you say, Venus and Jupiter can throw things out of balance pretty quick. So anyway, that's just interesting to know that we've got, again, of all the gin joints in all the town, all the world, you've got Dave, Pluto, and Mars saving the day,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
I'm sure they're gonna save the day.
Things are going to change shape and transform, take flight, just metamorphosize, if that's a word.
Yeah.
Metamorphose is the verb.
Metamorphose. Thank you, Michael. But I agree with the roller coaster. I've been seeing it in my personal visions, whether it's my personal or collective, I think is all. But I do think that there's just this, like, these formations, I do think there's the potential for things really taking shape, changing form, taking off. But yeah, also trying to ground and pay attention to your mental health, and that Mars and Virgo, like the action that you're taking. I'm just reiterating that what people are saying.
Well, and back what I've been hearing from people and even observing in myself over the last couple of days, the actions you take right now are really important to note. Like what do you find yourself doing? Not just what you want to do. What do you find yourself doing? And again, we've had the moon running through Leo these last couple of days. We've had Mars just leaving Leo, and he's really so close that he's still picking up Leo energy. And we have that south node in Leo. And one of the effects of that I'm noticing really does seem to be a sort of opening of that south node and going, what, I've let that hold me back. I wanted to do this all this time, but I haven't. Oh, well, let's get that out of here, Let's get that cat out of that bag and just get on with it already. I don't want to be an accountant. I just don't. Maybe I did once, but now I don't anymore. I want to be a professional skateboarder or whatever it is that has been your heart's desire, but you felt like you just can't for some reason. I think the can'ts are going to just start losing big time. I think that there's going to be people just taking more and more chances. And I don't necessarily feel like it's a stupid, like, people are going to be losing their minds and throwing caution to the wind. I think that they are going to be throwing caution to the wind, but they will be so frustrated with whatever has held them back from their heart's desire before. It's going to seem like whatever has held them back is just not worth hanging on to anymore. And that is, it's like I'm already seeing that with the South Node in Leo. Has anybody else noticed any kind of?
Well, I was going to suggest we just had Mars conjoin the South Node, which we talked a little about in the last roundtable. And I was curious if anyone noticed what was happening in their world as Mars and the South Node conjoined recently. I believe it was like that. Was it Saturday or Sunday? It was this past week. I mean,
Somewhere in that range, yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah,
last week Saturday. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Hmm.
yeah. I don't know if did you all like, was that a notable time in your world, or did you notice that transit and what because that was like a big South Node activation. I mean, I was at kind of a preliminary funeral for a close family member, but it was glorious because in a way because it was when they were almost exact to the arc minute. I was at a brewery. It was my brother-in-law, and he loved beer, craft beer, and he had a nickname, Captain Awesome, and they had like brewed one of their craft beers at the top of the list, and everyone was drinking Captain Awesome, and it was just a big gathering. Leo, like telling stories and really heartfelt, and like it was super fresh, so everyone was like grieving very intensely. It's very shocking. Um, but yeah, it just felt like that was my Mars South Node Leo experience, and it was quite notable.
Mm. Mhm.
Even like the death is, characteristic of the South Node, and the release and the dissolve and the letting go kind of quality. But it was really also boisterous and leonine and beautiful.
Yeah, it does feel like we've had another one of the death cycles too, haven't we? We had the three famous deaths, and then a lot of people had,
Yeah.
somebody in their circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Julie,
been
what have you
busy.
been noticing in the last?
Well, it's been, well, it was exactly a month yesterday that my dad passed. So that whole cycle, after literally almost exactly a month after we had my mom's celebration of life. So it's this dynamic of, Leo is my childhood, right? And it's changes from the last vestiges of my childhood, because now, and Maria, you and I have talked about this idea that once the parents are both gone, we're now the elders, and to put that mantle on it's a jolt. It's a, oh, okay, wait, there's nobody in that generation that came before me that I can look to now for that wisdom. Wait a minute, that's me. How did that happen? And that is a dissolution of something long term. Um, and at the same time, just taking from that childhood all the wisdom that was bestowed upon me from my parents, right? And as what Verone talked about, the shadows are just as much a part of that wisdom. What don't I want to bring forward? What don't I want to carry in my karmic
Right.
baggage? What no longer serves me in this iteration of my life now? And there's, even as challenging or difficult as any of us may have experienced that, there is still something in there that we can use to understand that South Node childhood, if you will, right? And take authentically who we've become forward into that Aquarian calling of the North Node. It's and the Neptune dissolving Saturn. I mean, all of these foundational structures, whether they be societal or within your own little personal sphere, are being dissolved. And
Mhm.
they're still being dissolved. And they're going to be dissolving for quite a while with this dance of these two. This isn't a one-off. So it's going to be a constant reintegration, metabolizing, rewiring, re. And I also think how we can use the Venus Jupiter conversation in Gemini is to find the community. I always go on that community box, but man, these energies support it. Find that close community that you can process this stuff with. I know it's like you said, Ron, I don't carry anybody else's bag, but I might have somebody else's wisdom and insight to help me see what I can't see to navigate all that. And there's no stigma or shame in it, you know? So
Yeah, I was with, I like what everyone's saying. I was with River at the passing gathering of River's brother-in-law, and like for me, Saturn or Mars and the South Node were very conjoined into my personal chart. And like you say, Julie, parents passing, now you become like it all becomes, you're the next in line or whatever, everything comes down to you. That's been my role almost my entire adult life because me and my siblings have no connection to either one of my parents. And so I've been like the matriarch for a long time. And for me, when I think of Saturn and or Mars and South Node coming together, it's like double kind of inferno. It's like furnace plus furnace. It's like you're burning up so much of that unnecessary baggage very, very quickly. And that's what I experienced because honestly, it's extremely hard for me to be around families. It's very hard for me to be around families. And I was with River and a whole bunch of other families, it was like a lot there. And it was for me to be present for like other people. And so like, I just felt stuff burning up very quickly, just like crap that I had maybe held on to was just like, oh, this isn't important. This isn't important. Like, it was just like close. I wasn't even like overly aware of it. Like it was only in hindsight where I was like, wow, I like actually released a whole bunch through this like cool astrological happening, and I also think that like every time the galactic center gets activated with like Venus opposite the galactic center and the moon coming down the galactic center, that's also a really pivotal point of like let go, release, and also birth again. But sometimes I call that point the cosmic toilet. I don't know if like I should call it that, but like just like these places where we're given an opportunity to really just like dump it all out. We've gathered it and collected it and maybe gripped onto it for a long time. And then these astrological things happen like Mars and the South Node or galactic center or the center of the center of the center. And now we can kind of like release it through so that energy can become repurposed again. Because like whatever we let go of, it comes back to us as like potential energy. So like this is why I think like the most lack you have, the place of your deepest wound is actually your place of your greatest growth because it's only up from there, So like the more you're able to truly let go, not just like I release, but like truly see it, acknowledge it, feel it, and let it move through you, it's gonna come back to you like as usable energy. You can think about this in your life or your whole like lineage. We're talking about families, we're talking about parents. It's like, okay, what are the things I learned from my family that like were really important? What are the things that I learned that like, nope, stops with me, definitely changing here? Like there's always wounds and gifts. There's always like pain and power. There's all of it. And like for me, I grew up with crazy people. However, I learned a lot through it. It's like I learned things you cannot read in books or you can't go to school for. And for that, I have extreme gratitude, even for people who like screwed me over the hardest, also gave me nuggets of gold that like I need for right now. Like I can see why my soul chose this path. So, I do see there's a lot of that happening and will continue, like what Julie said, like the dissolve will continue to happen. This isn't like a one or done. This isn't a quick fix.
That's it.
These are huge. We're talking about giant like karmic cycles. I mean, to me, this is why our souls are here.
Yeah.
Like we're here to have fun and play and all that too, but like we're also here to like be the alchemists of this like dynamic energy of like earth and stars. Like we're the like golden rod in between. We're the magicians. Most people have forgotten, 90% of the population has forgotten, but we will remember because we'll keep having these things happen where you're going to have to face it, like we've said before, the shadow has to be integrated. Lies have to be released so that we can remember our truest souls. And we're going to be put in situations where we're going to have to do it. And a lot of people want to run from it, but it's just, you might as well start doing it now. Like, have a practice of tuning into yourself every single day, because like it's going to happen regardless. Like, do one load of the laundry at a time instead of letting it pile up. Like, when it piles up, it becomes a load that can crush you. You know, if it's too big, it's too much. So yeah.
Does any,
Michael, could we have that chart up again that you made, please, with the
Oh, sure.
and as you're doing that, just a quick question, does anybody happen to remember when Pluto stations direct?
I could look it up.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking that is I think that's going to be some crazy momentum. I mean, I know he doesn't exactly, go running out of the gate, but I think when that energy starts to shift back into that forward momentum in Capricorn, this is that death, rebirth, rebuild of Capricorn.
October 13th.
nice. I wanted us to see this chart again just because the way you've run it, Michael, shows the shape that just tells that story so perfectly, right? The
Mhm.
a trine is supportive energy,
Mhm.
and a grand trine is like mutually supportive energy. So the fact that we've got this grand Earth trine of Mars, get her moving, Dave, use whatever weird tool you have to get her moving, and Pluto, we've got all the power in the world getting her moving, you know. Ironically, in earth signs, that is grounding, right? That is supportive, but supportive of motion that is going to support the two sextiles, which is creative energy. What is being destroyed and recreated here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So all of that grand earth trine support from these massively powerful bodies that have to do with motion,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that are there supporting the creative process that is happening with this conjunction. That just it just it's like right there in the chart, just tells the story just beautifully. And like Verone just said, we're going to be asked to do what it takes to get ourselves healthy and past whatever boundaries were keeping us from doing our soul's job. And our soul's job is probably going to become a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
Again, that's another thing that kind of happens with this Neptune Saturn conjunction is like, what gets dissolved. And don't forget about Chiron and Eris over here.
Mm.
With Ceres on the way.
Yes.
So that's
Ugh.
something to note as well. Just that we've had Chiron and Eris together for some time now. And I mean, they last came together in like 1971, I believe. And it may, so this is a major event happening in the sky, just these two coming together. And then the moon here in this chart is picking up that trine to them as Ceres is on the way. So I think the healing that we're all going through as a collective also involves this element of chaos, discord, but also pointing the way to that Eris apple of truth and acknowledgement. But it's like in Pisces, the bleeding heart, the humanitarian crises that are just so gruesome. That's part of it. And, something is needing to be, that hasn't been acknowledged is, I feel like these two coming together is a lot about that. I mean, I know back when they were together before, like the Pentagon Papers were released, by Daniel Ellsberg, that revealed a lot around the Vietnam War and the war crimes taking place there. So Ceres, for me, my experience of Ceres is number one, grief. or maybe number one is unconditional love, because it's like through the grief, your heart is open in a way to that timelessness of love. So there, I do feel that deeply with Ceres, but also, you know, there is the grief and the letting go, more letting go. There's also the story of Persephone within Ceres, Demeter, the story. So there's also that conception, spring, promise of new life, but there is certainly this grief we must process.
Yeah, the dead of winter has to come before the birth of spring, you know. Wait, do you know approximately when Ceres will shake hands with Chiron Eris?
I can find it if
Okay.
y'all want to keep going.
Yeah, you know, and the other thing that kind of clicked in my head too with this grand trine with the Mars and Virgo, you know, that taking the action and getting out there and really connecting to the Virgoan energy, the cautionary note is don't get stuck in the perfection of all of it. And that could create a level of inaction if you have to worry about exactly how you're going to do it. How are you going to take control of your health? How are you going to connect to your physical body? How are, you know, if you get caught up in all that perfectionism that Virgo asks for, Virgo ascending, you can get into that indecision because you're waiting for just that right thing, just that right moment, just that right answer, just take the step. Just
Well,
take the step.
I think the Neptune Saturn opposition will help with
Help
that.
that. Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
so it's really a beautiful kind of, it's just like the perfect example of an opposition, right? And how they can benefit
Yeah.
one another, mutually benefit, because that Neptune Saturn really needs the opposition of a grounded, take action kind of guy, and don't just don't just let yourself dissolve.
Right.
But at the same time, you're going to have to take action. You're going to have to, not take things so seriously that you just sort of spin your wheels and, okay, I'm acting. Great, you're not doing anything, but I'm in action. I'm in motion. I must be doing something. Yeah, no, not really.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I love this so much. Like, the more I look at it, like, the more it kind of like comes into formation for me. It's like
Yeah.
I said before with the Saturn Neptune, like dreaming the big dream, and then Saturn is like, okay, well, how are you going to build it? Because it's not going to happen all in one day. With that, like Mars is like, okay, in Virgo, start taking like the practical steps. You don't have to know every single thing. That's what perfectionism is. You're afraid to take the wrong choice, or you're afraid you're gonna look stupid, or you're afraid someone's not gonna like it, when like really all you have to do is like step on the first stone, and then the next stone appears, and then the next stone. And so you're building what this looks like to me is like we're building a new foundation. You know, we've got this earth trine, and like where we were standing before individually and collectively, like we don't want to stay here forever. Back to getting out of the comfort zone. Even if your life is like perfect, even if you're like, I love everything, I've got no problems, you don't want to stay in the same place forever. You know, life is about change. This is what our souls want. We want new experiences. We need new things to digest. We need new things to learn. And so we're creating this new foundation with this earth trine, bringing in this big dream with Neptune. Saturn's like, okay, we're building for the long haul. Mars is like, we're putting it into action. Pluto's like, all right, we're really digging up the soil to give us that power from the underneath. Uranus is like, be a fucking weirdo, do it your way, be unique, don't copy other people. You have your original blueprint, you know? And so to me, this is like really cool. And all you have to do is like do a little bit every day. You know, it's not about like, it's not even the destination. It's always about the journey. I don't care how cheesy that sounds. Like, because once you get to a place, you're just going to want to get to something else, you know? So,
Yeah.
like, it's about, and this is like, we're weaving this individually, and the individual is always going to be about the collective. because we're not here alone. Everything we do individually will always be about the collective. So it's like an individual weaving in a collective like tapestry that we're all making together so that we can shift into like this idea of like new earth or like something different, and like so just take that like first step or that action, like feel into what you like and let go of the shoulds and be like, oh, okay, yeah, like what Maria said, like the can'ts are going away, the shoulds are going away, and then just start taking steps into that direction, and you're eventually going to end up somewhere, and you can always course correct, and I really think this is like building something new beneath our feet that we actually like want to stand on.
Well, and interestingly, August 5th, 2025, numerologically is a 22-4, making the foundational.
Hmm.
Ah,
Yep, I picked that up. It was like, oh, that's a 4.
And I was gonna just circle back to the Dwarf Planet series actually doesn't come to meet these, she's in the vicinity, so there's a theme, but she actually goes retrograde on the 11th of August. So back to that Lionsgate time period.
the 11th of August? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so Ceres goes retrograde and goes back and almost kisses the Saturn-Neptune conjunction.
Oh, wow.
And so then before she goes back and eventually perfects this conjunction with Eris and Chiron, just after like end of February, beginning of March next year. And that's also when February is when Saturn and Neptune actually perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's just in the mix of all of this.
Yeah.
So something to think about in her archetype. She's one of my favorites.
And I think part of too, just tapping off of that and what you were saying, Varone, about, when you take that first step, the stone appears, then the next stone, the next stone. I think the other thing to remember in that process is also to sit with the first step for a little bit. It's not all about a race, like you were saying, the journey. It's rest in that moment. What was that experience? How did that what did I feel? What did I notice? What did I see? Because I think currently we run into so much of that. I want the instant answer. I need an instant fix. I need an instant this. We don't take time to allow for the resting point too. The resting point is just as important as the action point, but they have to be in balance.
And where are we all running to? Because like the only finish line is dying. So like I'm not trying to get there faster.
Yeah. It's and
Hurry up and get to that red light.
Right?
This is what we're all doing.
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of funny if you think about it.
Well, and I think Uranus can remind us of that in Taurus, right? Taurus is all about taking this deliberative steps, right? The deliberating steps of the bull, and Uranus is all about technology, which has given us this rapid fire experience, and I think this is an opportunity to say, back up the train a little bit. It may not be about all of the quick, instant, faster downloads.
Yeah.
It may be about go sit by some water and stick your feet in there for a little while.
Yeah. Stop and smell the flowers.
Yeah.
Well, and there's something interesting about technology interfacing with nature too, when you've got this long-term Uranus in Taurus, that it may be like clarity about, okay, where does technology, where does AI, where do any sort of maybe physical implants actually help, or where would it be better to wait and develop my own natural ability? I mean, are we sitting here thinking that we need artificial enhancement of abilities we don't even know we have yet? Right? Like we've not developed who we are. So how can maybe we use technology to help us develop our nature fully, or put it aside? Or I am not saying this very well, but I think you get what I mean.
How about we shift from develop to remember?
Yeah,
And I
right.
think that Saturn Neptune helps us with that, right? Remember who we are as a humanity, as a species, as, this structure that has been taken offline
Yeah.
through centuries.
Yeah.
Like the thing that we're seeking for like tech to do for us is actually like an ancient biological technology that's been within inside of us for a long time that we've just forgotten. And if we were able to actually access it, utilize it, strengthen it, we would remember that we have way more powers, possibilities, capabilities than we ever were told, coming to Earth, this Earth full of a lot of like conditional kind of energies. I mean, I believe that
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That,
you're all describing really clearly the nodal axis, which in Aquarius and Leo is really about remembering our personhood and putting it to use for the collective, putting it to, it could be technological use or not, but this is very group oriented, very humanitarian, very group oriented. This is very self, very personal. I agree wholeheartedly, and I just see all that in the. I don't think it's a one versus the other. I think it's they always need to work together to integrate that seeming paradox.
well, and Uranus in Taurus is going to come into square with those two.
Yep.
It's another thing that's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You
That's
can
Keeps
you
true.
can
happening.
see it lining up. So there, that that question, that conundrum, it's a good word, isn't it? Conundrum is going to, I think, become even more in the forefront as Uranus and Taurus lined up in square with the nodes in Aquarius and Leo.
Yep. Challenge point.
Yeah, exactly. How much of technology is this just another way of giving ourselves over to another god, or can we finally remember what we're capable of, or lean into what we're capable of and take the reins ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a throw the baby out with the bathwater situation either. The concept of God helped us keep the idea of something bigger than just this earthly plane alive within us until we could remember again. So and it's probably going to be the same with AI and tech. There's going to be definitely benefits that we'll learn how to use, but it's having to be careful about giving up power versus
We're
remember.
not even in the age of Aquarius yet.
No,
So
we're not,
we'll
people.
Dude!
see what happens when, like, yeah, I don't want to be a cyborg.
Well, and that
You want to
Uranus
be a cyborg?
and the Uranus in Taurus is questioning or asking us to connect to what do we personally value in that. It's our personal value system, our core values as individuals, so that we can move forward for the collective of Aquarius. There's no mistake in the fact that Aquarius is also visionary. What do we see?
Mhm.
And we have to see from here first. We have to.
Mhm.
So.
Good job, team.
Can people ask us questions? Where is this streaming?
It's streaming on my YouTube Live, and
Okay.
I have, let me go back. There's a few comments here.
Okay.
There was a question about the new Prometheus settings, and Michael, I mentioned that you're going to keep us in tune with that when you can.
That's true.
So
That's
we'll
true.
talk about that.
Let's see. Let's see.
And then Lady Spellbreaker, I favor the Leo Regulus energy with my Leo stellium. And feeling the South Node and Mars is on her 33-degree Saturn in Leo. So yeah, upending all the structures. And
That's
then Nikki
tough.
10 said she had a good day that Saturday that River mentioned last weekend, basically. Yeah, and then I asked Lady Spellbreaker if she could use this trine to integrate the challenges she's faced, and she said, yes, it's becoming clear what my path is and what it is not, which is kind of what we were talking about with comments from Verone. And then Kate, no questions, just lots of realizations. Thanks to all of you.
Cool.
And those of you catching this on replay, if you see it, whatever socials you see it on, just go ahead and tag us with your questions.
Yeah.
This is how we learn too. So, any other words of wisdom from this lovely community that I am so grateful to be a part of?
No, but I just realized it didn't open a circle or close a circle.
I thought of
Once
that.
we start calling Neptune in, I swear it happens to me all the time. That
Yeah.
the more I hear the word Neptune, because exactly, Michael. I used to listen. I think I've said this before. I used to listen. This is how I first got into astrology. I listened to the sounds of the planets, the NASA sound recordings. This is before I even started practicing astrology. And this was actually River and I's one of our first dates. I was like, want to come over and listen to Neptune with me? And like, I was just like, I'm Neptune. So like the minute we start, I feel a lot. The moon is the apex of my yod. So like I'm a feeler. And the minute we start saying Neptune, I start being like, I'm floating away. So the fact that we actually do this and stay on it is a miracle to me.
I did have one more comment come in from Kate. She just realized the nodes did a big thing on her natal chart Chiron opposition.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So transiting Chiron is with Eris, and then the nodes are. Would that be a Chiron opposition in late Aquarius? I guess she's not here for me to ask. I'm trying to put it
Well,
together, and
she's
I'm
on
like
the
not sure I'm seeing it.
she's watching live, so I'll see. Kate, do you want
Well,
to
yeah,
clarify that a bit?
maybe. Yeah, I'm curious what Chiron opposes and how the nodes are really affecting it.
All right, I'm typing that in.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks, Julie.
Oh, she says, yes, north node on my Chiron.
North node on the
Ah.
Chiron.
The transiting north node is on her Chiron.
Yeah.
I think it's calling for the transcendence of your chironic wounds to really embrace the nodal path of the collective, the north node path. Opposite Pluto-Uranus conjunction.
Chiron's always where we're most sensitive about ourselves because of our early experiences. It doesn't matter what kind of early experiences they were, because all early experiences, really early experiences, are pretty categorically just like a little messed up from an adult point of view. When you're tired and small and helpless and all you can do is scream, that is crazy. Like we don't remember it, but it's crazy. So I think a north node there on Chiron is really asking uh, for that shadow work to be like very personal and about where your Leo, where your personhood is, especially the tendency in Aquarius is to aloofness. And I would just take everything that was said about shadow work and just really figure that this is really pointing that direction for you. And I would just invite you, if you aren't a person who's been through a lot of adverse childhood experiences and real like trauma bomb kind of experiences, to just take it as another week, another cycle, another phase, and just go in gently. And if it feels like too much, yeah, there are all kinds of therapies and modalities and tools. Julie, you work with a whole set. Like
So does
I don't even. I mean, I think everyone here may have their own tools for dealing with that kind of trauma, and we're not even like professional counselors. So I think there's a lot of it out there, and I just encourage you that there is really good support for processes like that, because Chiron nodal stuff can be
Well, and as somebody who
intense.
also has Chiron in Aquarius, I think a lot of the challenge and sensitivities come in the fear of showing up as authentically you out in the big world. That authenticity, that truth of who you are in all the freakiness, right? And uniqueness. And it's that question, do I go along to get along? Do I conform because this is what's expected of me? Oh, throw a Virgo ascending in there, you got a mess. It's all a matter of, yeah, this is me. This is me. This is who I am. And so long as I show who I am from that point of unconditionality and love-centeredness and good intention, how you all out there receive it is yours, not mine. And that's the challenge of a Chiron in Aquarius, is not to carry that in the bag on your shoulders, right?
Yeah. That's so well said. That's so well said. Because all that current stuff is really just between us and ourselves. It can seem like, because it's early life stuff in most cases, it can seem like it's between us and our parents or our caregivers, but it's not at this point. Now that we're adults, it's between us and ourselves, or us and the universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and like Tom Jacobs, who did a beautiful series on Chiron. I love his 3-step reconciliation with your chironic energies. One is first to know what the wounds are, or potential wounds are. 2 is we embrace it as part of who we are, is our tendency, the wounded healer identified. Then you transcend it. And once you can transcend it because you accept that that's who you are, then you can have compassion for others on that same chironic journey. And I think those are the key elements, that transcendence of it.
And a nodal opposition, much like a full moon in the lunar cycle, is a chance to sort of check in on, okay, how's the waypoint on that cycle? Like, all right, moon, how are you doing? Or sun shining across. Hey, moon, how's it going? Hey, sun, it sucks over here. Turn it down, or whatever, wherever you are. And I think it's the same thing with the nodal opposition. Hey, North Node, how's it going? I'm trying my best, but you're keeping it pretty tight on it, South Node. You want to lighten up a little? No, or whatever. So,
I have to laugh because I have a dear friend of mine when her daughter was small, and she's, I think, 30 this year. She used to sit in the back seat of the car with little pretzels, and she would make them come alive and do exactly what you were doing. And she'd have these little stories of these 2 pretzels talking to each other. You just brought back that memory. So there's
I
that.
love her. I've never met her, and I love her. So yeah, so it's a nodal opposition can be very much a waypoint in your nodal healing journey, right? Like, how's it going? What might I need to work on a little more, or what might I take credit for some success in this far? We've got to give ourselves some credit. Verone taught me this. It's like, you got to give yourself credit for what you've actually done instead of keep, flogging yourself for what you haven't healed yet.
We could be kinky, but we don't have to be that kinky, right? We don't have to beat ourselves up every single day. But like the check-in points are so important because like this is how you build self-trust. If you just keep going, you're never going to have a reference point. And your reference point is always going to shift and change. Like center is always going to shift and change as your kind of universe and your understanding grows. But like I put little check-in points in my calendar. Like, okay, I'm going to check in 3 months from now and see like, am I doing what I want? Or like, how are things going? What have I accomplished? What do I want to still do? Like, have those little check-in points. That's what Maria's saying with the like nodal return. It's kind of like maybe a forced check-in point, but like you can do this with yourself, and then you can like give yourself some perspective instead of like, oh, I haven't done this yet, or this isn't here yet. Like looking back and be like, wow, I've actually done all these things. And if I was able to do that, I'll definitely be able to do this. And like, I'm going to take time and I'm going to celebrate instead of like pushing the boulder up the mountain like Sisyphus for like forever. I just think that is really important to do that. And you're always going to want, it's the nature of like our human desire. We're always going to want something else. We're always, and so those pausing moments are just so important. And like with Chiron too, Chiron on top of the wounds is also a master. I think this is like not talked about enough. Chiron is a master architect, a master like a master architect. archer. That's what I'm trying to say. A master oracle, master physician, mastery in so many levels. Taking that like centaur beastly energy and put that like the primalness into like pure intelligence to become whatever you've been healing from your whole life. You're a fucking master at that. That's your unique expertise. Like for me, it's not just about what you went to school for, your stupid little piece of paper you get for your diploma. It's about what you've been doing your whole life, and this is what we're here to teach other people, our unique mastery. And I really think that Chiron allows that to come forward, because at some point you have no choice but to heal it. Like with Michael said, you can blame your parents forever, or at some point you could just be like, well, who's going to change my life, me or somebody else? So you're going to have we're not here to be adult babies. We're here to be adults and grow up. And I do think Chiron is really cool for the point of like being able to like become an expert in the place that maybe you were hurt the most.
Right. And I think that reflective exercise is really important. And if you're in a space where you're having a hard time seeing that because you just are mired in the journey, if you will, this Venus and Gemini can help you connect with somebody to reflect that back with you, right? Hey, Maria, I met you 4 years ago and look at how far you've come, that kind of thing. Look at all the different hurdles you've jumped over to be where you are today. Do you realize that you've done all that? And it's like, well, gosh, no, I never took the time to think about that because I'm in it, right? Whereas if somebody put that mirror up and say, hey, take a look at that path back there. Just turn around for a second and just see what you did last week, last hour, last month, whatever it is, and just take stock of that. Is again, we just don't take that time to settle into that journey marking point. At times we're ready to jump on the next stone, or we just lay in complacency of it all. I think Venus and Gemini can really bring some great relationship connections within our small community that we really trust.
Yeah. I literally set alarms in my phone, like for real. Like I'll set an alarm for like months from now, and then it'll come up and I'll be like, whoa. And it allows you to have that point of reflection to be like, actually, I may not be exactly where I want to be, but I did do this, instead of just continuously pushing and punishing and forcing. It's like, that's not what we're here for.
Right. Any other parting words of wisdom as Vern dances her way in her chair?
I'm in a good mood.
Yay!
Well, we didn't really officially open the circle, but we kind of did. Do you want to close the circle, my dear?
I'll just say thank you to all guides, guardians, ancestors, star beings, ascended masters, anything or one that was here supporting this. I'm just going to give thanks to all the elements and directions that are always around us, always supporting us, whether we acknowledge them or not. I will guess I'll devote the circle of center spirit, north earth, west water, south fire, and east air. And remembering that even when the circle is open, all of our hearts are still connected because we are one, but we are also many. And sending everybody who's watching in real time or watching later so many love and blessings. You can do it. I believe in you.
Right. Anybody else before we say adieu or ciao or adios? No? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And we're going to sign off here. And